Today in class, you learned about exponential notation. This is simply writing an expression using an exponent. In previous years, you've learned that repeated multiplication can be written using an exponent. For example, this -2 is multiplied by itself 35 times. So I can write that as a base of -2 and exponent 35. The second example is very similar, except my base is now a fraction, but the same rule applies. My base of 9/2 is going to be raised to the 12th power because it tells me it's multiplied 12 times. It's important to remember that when the base is negative or fractional, I need to use parentheses. This one is really easy because it's simply the reverse and they do all the work for us. This 56 tells us how many times the 8 is multiplied by itself. Pretty simple. To the exponent states how many times the 8 is multiplied. It is multiplied 56 times, so that is what is written in the blank. They want us to rewrite each number in exponential notation using 3 as the base for these problems. So I need to figure out how many times to multiply 3 in order to get the number I'm looking for. So let's start with this first one. I'm going to multiply 3 once and then twice to get 9, so I can rewrite that 3 to the second power. I'm going to multiply 3 times 3 times 3 in order to get 27, so that would be 3 to the third. If I multiply yet one extra 3, I'm going to get 3 to the fourth, which equals 81. And then finally, 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 equals 3 to the fifth, which does equal 243. It's important to point out that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 3s, and that's the number of our exponent. The last problem, they're asking us to write an expression. We want -2 as the base, and we're trying to figure out how many times can I multiply this by itself and get a negative product. So let's try -2 times -2. So we're multiplying it 2 times. We know that we can rewrite this as -2 to the second power, and we also know a negative times a negative equals a positive. If I were to do -2 times -2 and do one more, I could rewrite that as -2 to the third power, and we know that a negative times a negative times another negative is a negative. So it's interesting to point out that if my exponent is an even number, such as 2, my answer or product will be positive. If my exponent is odd, like as in 3, my answer will be negative. So to produce a negative product, I need to make sure the negative is multiplied an odd number of times.